as Dr. Sen Gupta has mentioned, because I am coming from a different part of India, which is the youth section of India. And I've lived abroad for many years as well. I've lived in Singapore, in UK. I've also worked with United Nations in New York and Sweden with Ministry of Tourism India. So I've got a brief idea about how Indians are actually living abroad at the same time, while I have grown up in India, so I know about India as well. Starting with one of the biggest points which I wanted to differ was, we are actually colonizing the world. Do you guys are aware of it? Indirectly, we are colonizing the world. We were always colonized by the British or by French or Portuguese, but now we are doing that. And couple of proofs of that is as good as we are now not just colonizing, but we are also taking their companies and their political system. You all are already aware that Tata has taken up Jaguars, Land Rover. Even the East India Company of British is now owned by India. And at the same time, now there is the beginning of acceptance in the political industry, where Canada has actually accepted 3 Indians as their national cabinet ministers, including the defense minister. For people like us, it is more interesting to observe that those rural schools and colleges who are not that equipped with English or modernization, they are actually going abroad and converting their language as their national language. Tamil, Marathi, Punjabi, there are many languages of many other national countries which has been converted into a 3rd or a 4th national language. So for us, it doesn't matter that whether we are studying in some posh schools or in a rural school. The only thing which matters is, as your title says, the thought. Your thought process has to be strong enough, and it doesn't matter which part of the world you're coming from or with what kind of financial background you're coming from. Just go there, convert them. By end of the day, the management sector has a new word in their dictionary which is found by us, Jugaad. We don't have to go and learn their stuff. Either you work, घुमा फिरा के हम हमारी मनमाजी करते ही हैं. We are a revengeful people. Our revenge goes to the extent that now we have actually filed a case on the Queen of Britain to get back the Kohinoor as well. We are a revengeful people, and we are very stubborn, and we do things as our way. So my presentation in a manner is a very simple one, where it will make you understand how exactly we work. First, the first line is as good as the first they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, and then you win. The world will always laugh at you first. Then, they will always ignore you. Just the way people, including my family, they ignored, are you really studying crime, or are you becoming a terrorist or a criminal, or what exactly you planning to do? So that's something which is ignorance. Then I had to actually explain, and when I was getting into the entire field, and a lot of crime just starts coming in, when Indian spies are caught abroad, and my own family, extended family who are lawyers or judges, they just tell my family, हाँ ये वही बनने जा रहा है, वो spy, और बाद में पकड़ा जाएगा और अंदर हो जाएगा. But then I had to completely make them understand. People laugh at me and do everything, but then you have to fight. Once those 2 stages are crossed, then you have to fight. You have to make people understand. Like indirectly, I am right now fighting Sen Gupta sir, that I don't agree with him. That India is not into the only thoughts, which is a fact at the same time. But there is a different side of the India as well. Then we win if the seniors agree with us, which in this case is political system of the different countries. Now, getting a national defense portfolio of a foreign country is one of the most toughest. And Canada allowing an Indian Sardar to become a defense minister is like the big thing. And just for your information, Canada is just the beginning of the entire global political scenario. There are many Indians in every country who are strong with their political connections, and now you might see many Indians having ministers abroad. I don't know how many of you might have also read this point, that even US delegate was confused that the Indian along with them was their delegate, not the India counterpart. And that situation will increase day by day. So you have to be conscious at the same time. Don't allow anyone to dominate you in terms of your thought process, which is your title, which is an amazing title. I don't know who chose that. Excellent. Now coming to the second part of your title, which is technology. Technology in management is as good as digital marketing. Categorize your market as per the keyword psychology. People don't understand your sentences. They just want one single word. Even if you're going to a foreign country and you don't know their language, but you use that one particular word which is common in both the languages, your work is done. The same concept is used on your social and your Google search engines as well. The more number of words you write, the more confusing it is for the search engine. The less number of words you write, it's much easier. So just mention the keywords. That's how it will be easier. Now, getting into technology thought processes of management. Management is as good as your own personality. You manage yourself properly, then people will accept your management techniques. Digital marketing is self-funded, so you don't have to worry about hiring people or not. You just have to process your own thoughts and get it implemented in your own manner. Whether you like social media, Facebook, or you don't like Facebook, then get into LinkedIn. If you don't like LinkedIn, you like minimum words and maximum thoughts, then you go to Twitter. There are many such things. You have to work as per your own thoughts. Reduce the number of word count. Your thought increases. The person's thought process increases. For example, I wanted the word crime, but at the same time, I didn't want the word crime to be offensive as per the legal management structure. But at the same time, I also wanted to mention that I work for the fear, not for supporting crime. So I just added the letter O between crime and phobia, and I've made it as crimophobia. So it's a thought in itself. Now imagine if I would have made my company's name as fear of crime. It sounds so boring. And that's three letters at the same time. Fear of crime. So you have to keep the thought in your management structure and your techniques, but reduce the number of words. Just one letter of O has converted the entire thing as something which everyone can understand, that I'm working only on the fears of crime and not doing or committing crime. But it makes the management structure of my criminology consultancy an understandable and a legitimate as well. Otherwise, I'll be tagged as a terrorist group. Talking about terrorism, it's very interesting that people usually assume that they want a lot of people die, but they just want a lot of people watch, and that's their management technique. Managing the fear in different locations is how their business runs. Now I'm going to ask a couple of questions out here at the same time, and then we're going to be having a 2-minute last right in the end, where you can ask me whatever questions. How many of you are in the first and the second years? First of the first years? Okay, it's full of first years. Any second years as well?
Yeah, I think it's done.
Okay, I think it's done, right? Are you guys more interested in digital marketing or just marketing on field? Why is that? One by one. I can have someone here. You can raise your hand. Why do you like digital marketing? You're very soft.
in digital marketing, you don't have to go to a field. On the computer also, you can do advertising.
What's the thought process? What's the thought process? Get me the thought process which is as per your convention's title. Why is digital marketing important as per your thought?
Because I think that in the digital marketing, you will get more reach compared to the normal marketing.
Reach is calculations.
Yeah.
It's not a thought. It's the administration part of your marketing. I'll save money. That is the calculation part. It's not a thought. People are lazy. That's the main point.
Yes.
We just want to sit and just open up a laptop or a mobile phone and just check what's going on. Digital marketing is for all the lazy people. Because we are constantly sitting in front of it and randomly it just comes up. So we are saving that 1 second as well. When you're going on field, you're actually not utilizing seconds, you're utilizing minutes, hours, or maybe days as well. Digital marketing is as per these seconds. Right now, because you're sitting here and you have time, or maybe I'm boring, so you might just open up and that's a digital marketing happening. That particular moment, you are bored, or you have something else to do, or you're just waiting for someone and you've just opened up. And replacing that, if a person comes down to you while you're sitting here, you'll actually say that there's someone standing there, you can't talk right now. But same thing which is replaced by digital marketing, you will not tell that to your mobile phone. That stop. I'm sitting somewhere. So that's the difference between global development. Global development is actually working on the laziness, not on the management or the technology part. We are lazy, so we've got that particular aspect there. It's the same thing with TRPs and terrorism. I'm mixing my crime because I like crime. So now having 8 attacks in different locations in Bombay and in Paris is more number of TRP which converts into investment from different extremists, that they'll get more funding because more people in different locations were victimized and they have seen us terrorizing them. And at the same time, okay, Iraq hai, chalo udhar bombing put raha hai. That's just one location. It's very boring to listen. So even the news media wants to have different stuff. So that's how they've been working. In a similar manner, your management techniques are also working at the same speed. Does that make any sense to anyone, or it doesn't make any sense to anyone? How many of you are confused what am I talking about? You can raise your hand. Why you are confused? What's your first thought which confuses you?
I didn't get it.
Which part?
What you tell?
The terror attacks or the TRPs?
Terror attacks.
Terror attacks is used as don't worry, terror attacks are worked on a concept so that the world media actually airs it on television. Attacking one location in Paris is not fun for a lot of media. As you might be knowing as well, even Indian media, or most of the people or in the media or in entertainment industry, they want controversies. Controversies at our level and controversies at the international level, the concept is same. It's just the platform is different. Just the way here, for example, Dolly Bindra will just come and just talk about Radhima, which is a controversial thing, and I was part of it because I was solving and getting all of them together at the same time so that the concepts are there in the market. So those concepts were there, but that just convert that same scenario in international level. Rather than abusing or that Pandit getting slapped on the during the debate is converted into bombing or gunning someone down. So the concept and the thought process is same, it's just you have to make your target audience. which are you? How many of you are willing to have their own businesses in the near future? 4, 6. Okay, there's some there. So, what can any of you give me one concept or one type of business that you are willing to get into? Why the boys are not talking? Only girls are talking outside. Yeah, go on.
Actually, I have a plan.
In very short, just in 2 words, which was your business style? No sentences, no paragraphs.
Yeah.
2 words.
Digital notebook.
Notebook. Like this notebook?
Yeah. Digital form.
How do you convert this into a digital note?
That's works in process.
That's what is in process. Okay. So you think that is a unique idea?
Yeah. I think so.
You can sit down, sit down. Is there this concept of digital notebook in the market or not? Then it's not unique. When the word and the term is in the market, then it's not unique. It has to be a unique concept altogether. Earlier, when those notebook terms might have not come, and people like me and people like you are just talking about, I want to have a digital notebook, and a person like me will just raise, how do you make this a notebook, a digital one? That's when everyone would laugh. But it came into existence, so he had to fight, just the way that concept must have been fought. Now, there is a very interesting situation when criminology and market gets into 2 aspects, which is no law, no punishment. If there is no law, there is no punishment. How many of you can think about one particular crime which doesn't have any law? I heard some prompting from there. What was that? Oh, sorry. I couldn't hear, sorry.
Cybercrime has no real laws which
Cybercrime has its acts.
acts, not law.
Well, you can be prosecuted under that law.
Country changes, the act is no more valid.
To some extent, the basics are there, but not the intense ones. In different manner. Any other? Anyone? Should I pick you up? Or just choose someone? Okay, I'll stick to. You wanna say? You wanna say? Okay, never. I'll stick to the same example of. I was using this example to Mr. Sengupta as well downstairs. Modesty of men's outrage. Sorry, outrage of men's modesty is not a law. And it was being claimed by an ex-judge against Radhima again. Now there is no law, so there is no punishment, and his FIR is still pending. Now just yesterday I was just going through few slides on India Times digital news, and it was mentioned that 98% of the cases are against men being exploited by women. Whether it's domestic or it's been beaten, or fake dowry cases, or fake rape cases, or fake outrage cases, but we can't do anything. In this similar manner, digital marketing also doesn't have any laws as specific, because digital is global and there are no global laws. Now, when it's global, you have to first define your jurisdiction. If your jurisdiction is not within this location, then your man cannot do anything about it. If this classroom is outside the premises of this campus, then that jurisdiction changes again. Is there any jurisdiction for digital? There is nothing. So you have all the liberty to actually experiment anything you want, because the constitution and the legal department has not formed any laws. The Nepal Central Ministry is now making their constitution. Now it's in process. And you can actually make your own concepts and send it to them as well, that make this as your law. And then they'll ask you, okay, what exactly you mean? And then you can actually go and consult the entire government that this is what I mean. You can change, you can amend, you can introduce all the laws which was not being processed earlier. How many of you are actually aware of Swachh Bharat? All of you? Or no one? Swachh Bharat of Government of India? Yes? How many types of Swachh Bharat activities are going on behalf of the government? 1, 2, 3 or 4? How many? More than 1? More than 2? More than 2, how many hands up? Just yesterday I got another message from my mobile network, Vodafone, and they mentioned that they will be charging me 0.5% additional tax because the government has forced them to work on Swachh Bharat, and they are charging the company, so they are charging us on our bills. And there is something called CSR. How many of you are aware of CSR? Everyone? Now CSR has another 2% by the government forcefully imposed on the companies, that they have to spend 2% on social responsibility activities. Now if that 0.5% is being diverted to this 2%, then they are actually paying 1.5%. So technically, none of us were a person of charity mood, but now we are forced to have our charities on place, because we are actually paying them for no reason. And then I got to know about two interesting types which I was not even aware. 2% or this Swachh Bharat Abhiyan is different, which is charged on company, and Swachh Bharat Kosh is imposed on individuals. So we are actually paying 0.5% from our pockets. So either even if we don't talk on phone or we reduce our discussion on phone, we are still paying something. So I am assuming the management techniques or the thought processes of the entire youth, even in the country, are using indirect back road pathway to actually force and do activities just the way Dr. Sir is adopting small towns and villages. Now, while we have a good number of generation retiring, our new generation or the youth generation is not just, kind of dominating the entire world with their possessions and their designations, but they are also using or rather forcing the entire country to be clean, which is one of the most important aspects. Cleanliness was not in our blood, but we are forced to do it right now. Anyone can define me the difference between digital and traditional marketing? Anyone? What are traditional marketing? Or what is a traditional management technique? Anyone? Should I just randomly pick people out? I'm actually going to do that. The last one, the last guy. Yeah. Yes. Without the blazer.
Traditional marketing is like,
You've got to be louder.
traditional marketing is like newspapers and
I still can't hear you. What is traditional? Is it working? Hello.
the traditional marketing is
Hello. Just say it out.
the traditional marketing is like newspaper and the traditional way, like hoarding something and
Management. Traditional management. Not the marketing. Marketing हो गया था. Management. What are the traditional management techniques? The ones which our previous generations have used 20, 30, like 2 or 3 decades ago. His notebooks. His notebooks has been converted by our digital notebook. So that was the word traditional is still there in the term notebook. You can sit down. But we have converted that into our own generation's term called digital notebook. You cannot escape the traditional marketing techniques because the decision makers at the moment are still the old school people. You have to stick with their concepts and then add your inputs. You cannot change their technology because they will not allow you to change. If you don't stick with their techniques, then your proposal might just get rejected completely. So while you are having your management activities, whether you're doing a job or you're planning to start your own business, first understand what is the concept, mission statement, principles, attitude of the old school people of that particular company. The founders of those companies. They will not change themselves. They will stick to the entire thing. Our digital activities is just increasing the number of TRPs, the number of viewerships. But you have to stick to their traditional activities. It makes a huge difference. Your job pricing, your salary packages, everything will change completely. Just because you are not sticking to the traditional activities of that company. So before you actually go to any interview, actually start reading about the traditional techniques. Go back to the first year of their founding company, just the way this would be your first year of international conference. What had happened initially? Even lighting of the lamp is the traditional activity which we cannot escape. We cannot have a digital lighting or something and just put a button and then fire comes up. We cannot have lighters or cigarette lighters and replacing them. It has to be the cotton and the light. I'm pretty much done with my elements. The only thing now what you have to understand is you have to have local connections. Your local connections are the global influence. If Vodafone has to come to India, or for example, how many of you go to McDonald's? Everyone? I'm sure everyone does. But when they go to a local market, they have to change. They started their first change by entering India. There are many outlets in the country which are pure veg McDonald's. Were you aware of this? How many of you were not aware of this? There is pure veg McDonald's as well in the country. Hands up, hands up. Pure veg. Nothing is non-veg in those locations. You have to work as per the local connections and the local aspects, and then the global activities can be influenced in the location. I'm open for all the questions. Thanks a lot for listening to me. Are there any questions for me?
You didn't ask me which city
Oh, you want me to answer?
the vegetarian McDonald's.
Kurukshetra, Varanasi, many such locations are pure vegetarian. Haridwar, the dominant Hindu locations are purely vegetarian. And even if you dare try attempting drinking a non-veg, that the entire system will be shut down forever. And you can't even bother getting into that location ever again. Any other questions? Alright, thanks a lot. I'll leave my visiting cards here. So just in case you are stuck in any crime or you're completely confused how to handle a particular conflict, you can always let me know. Thanks a lot.
We will just take a 2 minutes break and be here. Sen Gupta sir has to leave because he got a call from his office. I would like to request all my faculty members to join us on the podium for a photograph because being the first, it is a momentous occasion. Can we have all the faculty members? So all the faculty members, please join us on the podium.
आपके बगैर ये नहीं कर सकते ना क्योंकि सब हिंदी है.
Shift to our special guest, to Mr. Snehil Dal.
Hello. Thank you, Mr. Swapnali. This is my privilege to propose the vote of thanks for the first international conference organized by Dr. G.D. Paul Foundation at YMT College of Management on global development of management and technological thought process. That is commencing today. It has been our pleasure to host all the participants of the conference at YCOM. We have been fortunate to have the eminent persons from academia and industry at the conference. At the outset, we would like to express our profound gratitude to Dr. Sen Gupta, the chief guest, for sparing his valuable time to address the gathering and for highlighting the issues on poverty, education and healthcare reforms that we need to deliberate on during the conference and research. We convey our sincere thanks to Mr. Snehil Dhar, the special guest, for sharing his thoughts on the subject. We are highly appreciative of the leadership, encouragement and extensive support provided by the management authorities. We thank Dr. Kavita Paul Nalavde, the trustee member, for gracing the conference with her presence. We thank Professor Swati Padoshi, in charge director YMT Com, for her inspiring mentorship. This event would not have been possible without her constant guidance and help. Our special thanks goes to Dr. Seema Unikrishnan, the keynote speaker, and HOD of MCA, Professor Praveen Gupta, and HOD of MMS, Professor Sanjeev Kadam, for helping us organize ICMP 2015. We take this opportunity to thank all the reviewers and technical committee members for providing their valuable comments and helping towards the improvement of quality of papers. We are thankful to all the participants for coming to YCOM to attend the conference and for their enthusiastic participation. I am sure that the participants will be benefited by attending the conference. We thank all the conference committee members and colleagues who have been involved in this exercise for last several months. Without their initiative, tireless efforts and cooperation, this conference would not have been a successful event. We convey our sincere thanks to IT department, all teaching, non-teaching and supporting staff members of YCOM family. We would like to place on records the excellent contributions made by all student volunteers for the conference. Thank you all once again, and we look forward to an extremely productive conference day ahead. Thank you. Over to Mr. Sapna.
We conclude our inaugural session and we sincerely thank all our dignitaries on the dais for their time and sharing with us their profound and valuable words of wisdom. With this inauguration, we have stepped towards a day full of learning, research-driven information and knowledge assimilation.
Now we'll break for tea. Now all we will reassemble here by 12:30.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Kumar. I'm involved in international trade and marketing for the last 15 years. I'm heading a company in Belgium, which is part of the Singaporean multinational. In my presentation today, I'm going to cover a lot of points from the perspective of my experience in SME. I had a very brief experience of working in Indian businesses. I joined my existing employer in Singapore in the year 1999. Since then, I have been involved in the international trade of few product categories manufactured by us. Initial days of my career with this company took me to several countries, most of them underdeveloped, looking around for distributors of our products. In those days, I used to participate in a number of international trade shows and sell our products through these shows. Mostly, we used to communicate by telephone and faxes, in few cases by email, to convince customers to sell our products in their existing distribution network. The focus used to be to get the initial sales volume from the distributors, check their strength and reliability, and if sales start coming in, set up a marketing office in that country, get localized, and market the products widely. A very typical SME approach to market products in a foreign country. What I found remarkable in our company was the approach of our management to target the global markets with so much confidence. A very aggressive approach to go out and sell the product outside the country. This was partly because of aggressive entrepreneurship of our chairman, and partly due to limitation that Singapore market is very small with huge marketing costs. So the local companies there have no choice but to look closely to sell more. This part of my experience taught me peculiar trade practices of each country, import procedures, marketing hurdles, country-specific legal issues, and also gave me real exposure to negotiation in a cross-cultural scenario. Often I had to deal with small-sized companies, and sometimes the decision maker on the other side of the table could not speak the same language as myself. In such scenarios, I often face situations when I had to negotiate through translators. However, all these language problems are minimized in current business scenarios, and we are able to do much effective communication with the help of Google Translate. Thank you, Google. Then I got the opportunity within the company to move to Europe and set up a new business division for the company. In brief, our company has committed into getting produced some processed Chinese snacks and wanted to market them in Europe. They realized that Singapore is 6 hours ahead during summer and 7 hours ahead during the winters as compared to Europe time, and it was not practical to deal with European customers out of Singapore. They managed to create it. So they hired a European origin person to run the show. Somebody who knew the market, the culture, the dynamics, the customers, etc., etc. They trained the person in product and manufacturing process for several months. Finally, the person left the organization in the final stages of execution of the project. Since there was an urgent need, the position was offered to me and I was told to move to Belgium within 2 months. I was probably the most unsuitable person to carry out the project and setting up the business of selling Chinese snacks in Europe. At that time, EU was with 15 member nations and the single currency euro had been implemented, a very big advantage. My product knowledge in this new category was weak. I could not speak Chinese, French or Dutch. I had no understanding of European culture, had no knowledge of European market and potential customers. I had no clear idea what I would do to market the products. Back in Singapore, my management was convinced that we can make the European consumer eat Chinese dim sum every morning like the Chinese do in China. A typical cross-cultural illusion and optimism. I really did not know that to say. Normally, an obvious course would be to do some marketing research, a SWOT analysis, and then decide if the business is feasible. But none of this happened. I was assigned to jump into the market and set up the business for the company in Europe with very little resources. With some discussions and information provided by few of the European embassies, I figured out that I have to be in Belgium because of logistical reasons. Brussels being the most well-known place, I chose to base myself in Brussels. Shortly after that, I took a resident visa and moved to Belgium from Singapore, a country where I did not know a single soul. I started setting up a legal entity and rented a cold store to stock the products imported from Singapore. The advantage in Europe is that there is no trade barriers between all the 28 member countries. Goods can be sold and transported from one country to another like one. So even though Belgium is a very small country, I could target customers very easily all over there. I managed to get some initial customers, but very soon I realized that creating a business will not be possible with the strength we carry. Moreover, within 1 year, I was told by my boss that we had to stop this business because the factory where we were buying from has gone out of business and I was forced to move back to Singapore. All other markets where there was any business related to frozen Chinese snacks was stopped. The whole division was shut down. All personnel associated with this division
Thank you.
Those days were the lowest point of my life. To go back from a lost cause was not something I was able to accept. I somehow convinced the chairman of the company to let me handle this business on my own. This was late 2004. I decided to redefine our products that we were going to offer to the market. Instead of focusing on Chinese snacks, I moved the focus to Asian snacks, including Indian, Chinese, Thai, Vietnamese, Indonesian. Using some of the finest chefs across Asia and with my own basic culinary skills, I turned the product to suit the European palate. For example, in India we eat samosa of 80 and 100 gram per piece. I changed that to 50 and 20 gram per piece and less spicy so that it is suitable for European way of consumption. This is just to give you a little example with an Indian product so that your understanding on this is better. I changed my target segment from ethnic customers living in Europe to European origin people who were adventurous enough to try out the food from other parts of the world. That gave me a bigger target market with a niche product figure. We learned from the high-end retailers in Europe on their benchmarks for quality and accordingly chose the factories in Asia that were able to meet the benchmarks in quality and food safety. As a policy, we only chose factories that had quality certifications like BRC Grade A and IFS Level 1. Factories who could meet these stringent quality norms were very few in Asia. I was determined to develop the best quality Asian snacks using natural ingredients and pre-develop attractive packaging that were suited to European standards. During all these years, we developed a quality team that is responsible for getting our products produced in several Asian factories as per our recipe and standards. All the product development and quality processes were gradually defined and documented. Here in Europe, we developed a dedicated sales team that is able to sell our products in more than 12 countries of Europe to high-quality food service establishments and high-end supermarkets. In the last 10 years, we have been able to develop a sustainable business model based on packaging products in Asian factories and selling them to customers in Europe. Recently, our company has diversified into other kinds of snack products mainly used in Europe under our brand. Further, we intend to diversify into production of other frozen products in both Asia and Europe. Fortunately, I had the liberty to experiment in my method, and I achieved a number of things by just hit and try. I was never afraid to experiment and take risks. Some of the steps worked and some did not. One of the obvious problems in our business is the long lead time to manufacture the products in Asia and transport the goods using temperature-controlled containers, often called reefer containers. Managing these logistics and being able to deliver to the customer the right product on time is a very big challenge for us to meet. A higher inventory in Europe here warehouse will need more tied-up packing and more shelf life issues with the product. Thanks to our logistics team and forecasting tools that most we are able to manage our logistics with 95% service level. One of the common problems in international business is hedging differences. Bigger companies generally buy financial tools to hedge such risks. With our resources and size of business, we always try to have purchase contracts in US dollar, euro, and sometimes even in local Asian currencies, and have the sales contract also in wide range of currencies to prevent the impact of currency fluctuations. The strategy is often to not gain or lose from the currency fluctuations, but to focus mainly on our business. We are a commercial organization, and the products we deal in is very low-tech product. But role and effectiveness of IT has increased in business decision making. Over the years, I have seen a great evolution and use of technology in every parts of our business: production, logistics, and marketing. In the earlier days, tools like CRM, ERP, and other IT tools used to be very expensive, and therefore could be used only by very big organizations. However, in the current business scenario, technology has become more affordable. We can use these affordable tools to structure our business processes in much more cost-effective. Productivity can be increased many-fold not only by use of evolving technology, but also by outsourcing the jobs to third parties that have the best know-how to conduct these processes. Uncertainty and fluctuations are part of the current very dynamic business environment. A lot of the SMEs go bust because they are not able to downsize their overheads when the business faces a downturn. Their existing resources are eaten up very quickly due to high overheads, and they do not get enough time to reinvent their business model. Such cost structures are easy to achieve by using cloud-based business services and outsourcing. Trade barriers in the world are going down, and more so with the new technology and cheaper means of telecommunication. It is becoming easier to deal with business entities sitting across geographical borders. More countries are signing free trade agreements to make it easier for business to conduct international trade. Therefore, more companies are looking beyond their domestic borders to market their products. Hence, we can only expect international trade to grow in the future. Often, my friends, my colleagues ask me how I was able to manage my fall and stand up in business again after such a big setback. I often tell them about my business philosophy: in control, beyond control. Analyze what steps are in your control and do them with full passion and honesty. We should not spend too much time worrying about things that is not in our control. We should be only prepared for the unforeseen, but may not occupy our brain worrying too much about things beyond control. I often analyze that 80% of the things that we are worried about do not actually happen. Just focus on actions that are in control. I did this. I always had the satisfaction that I have given my best. This feeling always motivated me to stand up and fight back in any given situation. Passion. Last but not least, it is very important to have a passion to achieve a dream. If we have a passion to achieve something, sooner or later, we will always reach where we want to reach. Thanks, and I wish you all the very best. Thank you.
Mayur Shukla, and I am a PhD research scholar at Sri Jagdish Prasad Jabarman Dibriwala University in the Rajasthan state of India. My specialization is in the subject of microbiology. Currently, I am doing a fellowship with U.S. Center for Disease Control and Prevention in Atlanta, Georgia. Before I get into the more details of my subject, I would like to give you an overview. So as we all know, there are different kinds of the disease to exist today in the world. So among all, there are some of them are foodborne, some of them are waterborne, or some of them are due to some other conditions. So among all, my area of research is focusing on syphilis. So basically, syphilis is a sexually transmitted disease, and I'll give you its more details later in the presentation. So here, I'm trying to develop an advanced system for its diagnosis, so that can be very useful, and that can make testing easy, that can make result interpretation easy, and that can also reduce the human workload, because this is like an advanced test system, and it's more and updated. So if we have something that can make this thing easy, then it can be really useful for the society. So that's what I'm trying to do here. So I started my research with all these three objectives. So the objective is to bring a new technology that can help in the syphilis disease diagnosis. The other objective is to make the routine syphilis blood screening fast and easy. The third objective is looking for an alternate test source to the traditional test. So traditional tests, we have been using it from so many years, and they are not available in automated format as far as my research of the non-treponema test is concerned. So here, with this research, I'm trying to look for an alternate source to the traditional non-treponema test that I'm trying to develop. So here is some background information about the syphilis. So syphilis is a sexually transmitted disease, and it's caused by a bacteria. It's a spiral in shape, that's why it's called spirochete. So the name of the bacteria is Treponema pallidum subspecies pallidum. The major route of this disease transmission is through sexual contact. However, it can also be transmitted vertically from an infected mother to the fetus during pregnancy or at time of birth, and resulting into congenital syphilis. blood transfusion, and other more are also the possible route of the disease transmission. Now, there are some other background information here. So based on the clinical finding, it means presence of the clinical symptoms and results of the lab test, the stage of the disease can be divided into primary, secondary, or tertiary, depending upon this finding. Now the bacteria that is responsible for this disease cannot be grown on the artificial culture medium, and hence it makes very difficult to identify and characterize by routine microbiological culture techniques. However, there are different types of the techniques that are available today for the disease diagnosis, and it includes the dark field microscopy, and serological tests, and direct detection tests like PCR and all. However, serological tests are the most widely used tests for this disease diagnosis. This serological test deals with the diagnosis of the antibody in patient's blood sample. So that's how it's very easy, and there are different types of serological tests that are available from different sources, and hence it's widely used. So serological tests for syphilis can be grouped into two types, that is the non-triconimal type and triconimal type. Non-triconimal types of the test deals with the diagnosis of the non-triconimal antibody that are directed to the cardiolipin antigen, and this group of the tests include the VDRL test, USR test, RPR test, and TRUST test. The other group of the test is the triconimal type, and this deals with the diagnosis of the triconimal specific antibody, and it includes TPPA, TPHA, FTAPS, and EIA test. Now, just for your quick information, so antibody, here I say the non-triconimal antibody and triconimal antibody. So antibody is a substance or the molecule that is produced in an individual in response to an infection. So it can be anything. So like if you have tuberculosis or some other conditions, the antibody is always produced in response to the invading bacteria or viruses and something. So here, whatever the antibody is produced in a patient, it will respect to syphilis. And again, there are of two types, it's non-triconimal and triconimal type. So that's how, this test can be categorized based on the diagnostic potential. Now, these both types of the tests are very useful. The triconimal, the other group of the tests are available in automated format, but non-triconimal tests are still not available today in automated form. However, their availability can be very useful. So that's why my research is focusing on developing something that is like having an automated non-triconimal test. Now at this point, a question may come in your mind that I am going for non-triconimal test only because it's not specific. But see, here are some of the importance of having an automated non-triconimal test. It can be very useful in monitoring treatment effectiveness. Increase or decrease in non-triconimal antibodies has a clinical significance. Presence of non-triconimal antibody in syphilis suspected individual is an indicator of an active infection. And hence, if we have automated non-triconimal test, then it can be very useful. Now for better understanding of the subject, I have split my research into two sections just to make you understand what does it mean by modification. So here is the non-triconimal antigen, and that is chemically called a cardiolipin. So we are modifying this molecule under controlled conditions so that we can have the modified molecule with the carboxyl tail on it. Now once this molecule has the carboxyl group on its tail, we use this molecule in the test system here. So this is the modified molecule. Now this molecule is then attached to the microvalve surface having a primary amino. And this molecule is attached to that microvalve here through a covalent linkage. Here you can see the triangular cell structure of cardiolipin, and the yellow color structure shown here is a primary amine group. So in this view you can see that the antigen is attaching to the microvalve. Now once the antigen has attached to the microvalve here, then if the patient sample has an antibody which is shown here in green in color, this Y-shaped antibody structure will go and bind to the E. This antibody is then subsequently being detected by the conjugate that is shown here in blue in color. This antibody is an anti-antibody and is directed to the antibody that is binding to the non-triconimal antigen. And this is being detected by the enzyme. This enzyme when came into the contact with the substrate, it formed blue color complex. So this complex turned again to the yellow, and that yellow color complex is being read spectrophotometrically. So here, like this test is read by the machine here. So which is shown here in the spectacle set structure at the very end of the slide. So this will read the results of the test. So that's how here the results of the test is read by the machine. So that's how we can avoid the error that can happen when someone is reading the test result visually, because each of us has a different vision and have a different capacity to read the test. Now I studied some sample here with a different titer. So this is basically the results that what I obtained with the test system. So I took two samples with a different titer, with the reactivate and reactive 128. So I validated that sample serially and studied all those samples in the ELISA system that I'm trying to develop for the non-treponymous antibody. So what I found a nice sigmoidal pattern. The sample showed gradual decrease in the signal upon diluting sample series. So like 1 to 2, 1 to 4, 1 to 8, 16 and so on represents the sample dilution, and this nice sigmoidal pattern represents the response in the test system. I observed the same thing with the reactive 8 sample, which is shown here as an RF. However, the study non-reactive sample, that is 138021, still remain non-reactive. So this is an indicator of that the test system is working and is showing really good pattern. So here are the applications of this test system. So it can be very useful as it has a potential for automation, it can reduce the human workload, and it can also minimize the error that is possible with the test result interpretation. And this is very common with the traditional non-treponymous tests like RPR and VDR, because results are being read by a person and which is always subjected to variation. This test system can also be useful as the presence of non-treponymous antibodies is an indicator of an active infection. So these are all the different applications of this concept. However, this technique also has certain drawbacks, like it requires a specific training, that it is also technically more demanding than the traditional test. However, this test is designed only for those laboratories who can afford the cost of automation and who wants to reduce their workload. So it is ultimately for the blood bank scientists, like who wants to have an automated test. So here is the summary. Described non-treponymous test can be used for syphilis diagnosis. It has the potential for automation. This test can be very useful along with automated treponymous tests in syphilis screening of blood donors. However, more studies are required to validate its further use in syphilis diagnosis. And that's what I'll be doing here in CDC, to study it with more number of samples so that we can have more data and we can validate the test. Syphilis diagnosis using an advanced concept for the non-treponymous test development. You can find that article in a journal here called Current Trends in Biotechnology and Pharmacy. Here is the website link that can direct you all the way through this paper. And here are some of the references that are specific with this paper. So thank you so much for your kind attention. I really appreciate that. Please do not hesitate to contact me in case of any questions that you may have, and here are my contact details. I'm really thankful to Dr. Swati and team of YMT College of Management for giving me the opportunity to take part in this international conference. Thank you so much for that, and I really, really appreciate it. Thank you again, and have a good day. Thank you.
And now, one of the most awaited session of the day, lunch. So all we will together again will gather here by 2 o'clock.